Hi everyone, Sarah here, one of your clinical prosthetists and manager of technical support and global clinical communications with Freedom Innovations. Today's webinar replay is setting goals and achieving them, even amidst a global pandemic. And this one is hosted with Robert Mallon from Elite Coaching Solutions. As with all of our other webinars, we will submit to ABC on your behalf, but for BOC and state licensure, we will email you a completion certificate that you can submit to the boards. For additional free online CEU courses that are available whenever you are, you can visit our website, freedom-innovations.com.pno data and sign up there. Once again, thank you for your interest in our webinar.
And good morning, I guess good afternoon, and I always like to say good evening to everyone. Welcome to Freedom Hour. My name is Eric Ferris, Head of Marketing here at Freedom. What I always like to start out with these courses in terms of Freedom Hour is just basically say I hope all of you are staying safe, staying healthy. We continue to see, I think, continued signs of optimism and some good news, I think, finally emerging on a consistent basis, which is good. So I hope all of you are feeling good about that and feeling confident about the future. And so, as you guys know, if you've attended one of these in the past, one of the questions that we asked when kind of the pandemic started was how can we as an organization, how can we at Freedom really support you, the clinicians, during this time? And we have two kind of primary responses that we received. One was that the need for an access to education and CEU credits, since you see a lot of local meetings being canceled and other challenges around education. But the other one was the type of information that people wanted. Product information is good, and everybody said that's nice, but I also want something around business or something around processes, something around clinic management that would potentially help me manage, not only through that initial kind of, surge of disruption around COVID, but also in this new normal. Until we see a vaccine, now we're going to have some adjustments moving forward. And so out of that feedback and out of that information came the idea for the Freedom Hour, which is a 60-minute session every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we really distill down, I think, critical information that we believe is beneficial based on the feedback from all of you to clinicians and to clinics during this kind of interesting time in our world, I guess, world's history. And so our goal is to kind of, again, is to distill key information down and making it very tangible and giving you takeaways that you can take and implement in your practices and in your clinics where relevant. So, for example, we started off in this series really talking about overall kind of financial things and the loans that are out there and PPP opportunities and everything else. Last week, we talked a little bit about how to maintain productivity in a practice around key project management ideals. And today we're going to go, I think, at a very strategic level, which is how do you set goals, relevant, meaningful goals, and how do you go about achieving them? And that's something that, especially in a downturn, especially in a crisis, becomes more and more difficult. And so that really is our focus today, is around that. And so we've invited in, I think, a very good, I would call subject matter expert on this, Robert Mallon from Elite Coaching Solutions. And he's going to talk a lot about the selection of those relevant goals and the prioritization and how to execute and just doing things that are meaningful to you, your life, and your practice. And I think as we all face a variety of challenges on a number of different fronts, I think this topic is pretty critical. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Robert to start our program, and we'll go from there.
Eric, thank you. Thank you so much there, and extremely excited to be on the call today and to get to work with you folks. And actually, we're going to do a little bit of like training and coaching, and then we're going to actually do some application maybe in the last 15 minutes or so of the call to where you're actually writing some goals for yourself for the next bit of time. And we'll talk about that. A lot of the coaching clients that I work with right now, as we know, it's been crazy since like the very beginning of March. Like life as we knew it has really changed. And I'm kind of telling people right now, long-term planning, what used to be maybe a year or 2 years is now like 4 weeks. Like, where are we going, and truly we have no idea where the heck we're going to be like May 31st or June 30th. We don't know whether we're going to be sheltering in place or are we going to be out, or, you know, is there going to be a vaccine? Nobody knows what's going on. And so what I've found, and we're going to actually be talking about today, goals, like what they are, how to harness their power. And I've taught this to thousands and thousands of people. I've got great feedback from it. Super excited to give this stuff to you folks today. But I want to give you a couple of concepts here first before we dive all the way in. Most people really want like three things. They want a growing career, practice, whatever. They want to feel like they're living up to their full potentials, but at the same time, they want to have the time freedom to do the things that they most love to do. But they've got some problems. And one of the major problems is most people are focused on a lot of the wrong things. So that causes them to work way too many hours. A lot of times they feel like isolated, they've got blind spots, and there's like nobody to talk with them about that. So today, first concept I want to give you is when I work with my clients, I work on 90-day, what I call growth cycles. So if you've got a pen and a piece of paper, write that down, 90-day growth cycle. If you think about it, that would be 4 per year. So we've got all different types of people on the call today. We've got people, you know, maybe in their 30s, probably some in their 40s, some in their 50s, you know, but I want you to, let's think ahead, like add 10 years to today. So let's pretend you're 35 years old right now. You will be 45 years old 10 years from today, okay? If every 90 days you do a growth cycle and you set a few goals, a few very strategic goals, and we'll go into what are those goals here in a few minutes, but you set some professional goals and then maybe a couple of goals in other areas of your life, and then you accomplish those goals every 90 days or so, within 1 year, what sort of a life could you actually build? If you did that strategically 4 times over a year, you'd have a lot of great growth. Now, let's move forward 5 or 10 years. What sort of life could you actually build? Humongous, like unbelievable. The problem is most people don't think about what we're talking about today, and they don't get real specific. As a matter of fact, I was working with a gentleman this morning at 9 o'clock. I'm on the East Coast. I'm right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, but I was working with a person up in Raleigh, North Carolina on a Zoom call. The major problem that this guy has is right now, he is always putting out fires. He calls himself a firefighter. And so he's not structured his days and his weeks and his months to where he can get ahead of that. So he's not making progress, and he's really not feeling good about his life right now. Super strong performer. I mean, you know, the guy's a great leader, as a matter of fact, but you know, between us, he really admitted, you know, I don't feel like I'm getting where I need to go. And it's because he's not being real focused the way that he could be. So think about that, living your lives in 90-day growth cycles. Today, what we're going to talk about why people don't set goals, number one, and there's a lot of different reasons that people don't. We're going to talk about what's called SMARTY goals. Now, you might have heard of SMART goals before, but I'm going to change that just a little bit and give you some other ideas on that. We're going to go through a 9-step model of setting goals that I started doing this actually super quick. I was in the restaurant business for about 25 years, had restaurants all over the Southeast. And then I was in software for about 8 years. I was a vice president of a pretty large software company. And then I finally got tired of corporate life, if you could understand that. Many of you might be in that place right now, but I hired a coach back in 2002, and he helped me understand that part of my gifting is like coaching people and helping people grow in their careers and in their life. And so this 9-step model that we're going to talk about has really evolved over the last 17, 18 years that I've been doing that. I'm going to share that with you. We'll talk about some suggestions on how to set goals, and then we'll also do some goal categories, and then you're going to actually set some goals yourself. You're going to set a professional goal today for yourself, and you're also going to set a personal goal for yourself. So let's talk about this. Why do people not like goals? Many, many, many reasons for that. Here's one right quick. I'm already too busy. I'm so busy right now that I just don't have time to set goals. I hear that one all the time. People aren't real focused, okay? Another one here, they were given to me. There's a guy by the name of Fran Tarkenton. Some of you might know his name, but way back in the 1970s, he was a NFL quarterback, played for the Minnesota Vikings, and he actually is in the NFL Hall of Fame. Super good. I can remember barely, watching this guy play, but I do remember, watching him some. He's an even better business owner. He owns multiple companies, but he one time said this, and think about this if you're in a leadership position. People rarely resist their own ideas. Think about that. I love that saying. People rarely resist their own ideas. So many times goals are given to people within an organization. A better way of leading people would be to kind of walk through where you want them to go, but let them have some access to it too, and actually make their own decisions. That way they don't resist the goals that are coming to them. Another one here, people hate accountability. And I'm going to be straight up with you. I don't like accountability either, but I have people in my life who hold me accountable to actually hitting the goal. So, we set a goal, we think maybe I can get here, but then we don't tell anybody because we're afraid that if we don't accomplish that goal, we'll look foolish, whatever. Listen, accountability is one of the best things that you can have. Accountability helps you do things when you really don't want to do them, and just continue to take those steps forward. Another one I hear all the time, they're too big. People just don't like setting goals because they're way too big, and they go, I don't even know where to start. So it's almost like the old saying, I think, how do you eat a big old block of cheese? One bite at a time. That's all you can do there. So make sure, and we'll talk about, you want to make sure that the goals that you're setting are smaller so that you can have incremental progress and you can celebrate more often as you go through that. Another one here, people just don't know how to do it. My parents never sat down with me at the dinner table and said, hey, Robert, let me tell you how you set goals. As a matter of fact, I don't think my parents ever really talked to me ever about how do you set goals. And so you're going to learn, you're probably by the end of this hour going to know more than, I'd say 97% of the people on the planet understand about goals and how to actually set those. Big one here, fear of failure. Does that resonate with anybody? What if I don't accomplish that? Fear of failure is a huge problem. We don't even try things because we're afraid to fail. But when you really look at it, and I'm sure everybody on the call has heard this, if you look at it, by failing, you either you either grow or you learn what doesn't actually work so that you can adjust your course in a different direction. So really, when you think about it, highly successful people tend to fail more often than unsuccessful people do. Kind of an interesting concept there. But what they do is they don't stop with the failure, they just continue to move. And then here's another one, fear of success. And believe it or not, behavioral psychologists say that fear of success is stronger than fear of failure. So what that one means is fear of success means I'm going to be different. God, what will people think if I accomplish these goals? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that at all. I actually heard this recently in the last couple months. When people die, they actually say that if it is a rainy day, like if you came to my funeral or whatever, if it was a rainy day, over 60% of people who would have gone to the gravesite part of the ceremony there do not go because of rain. So if over 60% of people wouldn't even go to your gravesite because of rain, don't worry about what people think. They don't really care that much, all right? Don't worry about that. But when you think about fear of success and fear of failure, the big key here is goals involve change, and people don't like change. Now, let's talk about that, and I'm going to give you a concept here called the horse and the rider concept. I actually learned this from a guy by the name of Dr. Tom Miller, who actually, he and a guy named Albert Ellis, very, very famous psychologist, they actually came up with this. I want you to think about this. Your brain, 97% of your brain is your subconscious mind. So it's the subconscious, like not what you're really using right this second, right? What you're using now is your conscious mind, and you're thinking about the words that I'm actually saying and using and things like that. Your subconscious mind, I have no idea where you are right now, but I want you to right now look around the room and see if you see something that's blue. See if you see something that's blue. On my desk right now, I've got a blue water bottle to the left of me. And the thing is, it's in my field of vision, but up until actually saying that word blue, totally was not in my mind. But subconsciously, I knew that that blue was there. So 97% of your brain is your subconscious mind, and only 3% of your mind is your conscious mind. So what you think with. They actually call this, and I love this concept, the horse and the rider. And so you see that great big stallion there on the screen. Your subconscious mind is equated to the horse. So very, very strong, very, very powerful animal there. Your conscious mind is related to the rider. So I want you to picture like a little rider that's up on top of that horse. So let's take a look at this. Some of you might have heard of a guy by the name of Willie Shoemaker. Willie Shoemaker was the winningest jockey in the history of the world. He actually won 8,800 races in his career. Very, very, way back in the day, I can remember, I believe, seeing some of the races that he actually did. Interesting fact about Willie, the most that he was allowed to weigh on race day was 112 pounds. If he weighed in at 113, he was not allowed to get on a horse that day. What do the horses weigh, like race horses? They weigh on average between 11 and 1,300 pounds, all right? So Willie was in control, very small compared to that horse, but he had a lot of strength, and he was a guy in control. So think about the horse and the rider concept that we're talking about here. The horse, your subconscious mind, hates change. Your rider, on the other hand, loves change. But remember, your rider is only 3% of your brain. And so usually horses win. So get this and remember this. Anytime anything new comes into your life, good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't make any difference at all, your horse always equates new is wrong. And it's going to fight you every time. So when we write some goals together today, an hour from now, your horse is going to start saying, don't do that. You don't need to do that. Very strange there, okay? Your subconscious mind will always say no. So everybody right now, I want you to reach out and I want you to grab those reins and I want you to pull those reins and grab hold of your horse as we go through this, because this is going to be a little bit different than anything you've heard before. As a matter of fact, if you ever felt like with your horse and your rider, your conscious, subconscious mind, that you feel a little bit like that, like your horse bucks you off. Absolutely, okay? The way I want you to think about a goal is a result towards which effort is directed. That's all a goal is. You're doing goals every day, whether you think about this or not. Here in Georgia, in the Southeast, we have a supermarket called Kroger Shopping Centers. You know, they're pretty large, and I think they are over a great deal of the country. But let's pretend today that today is Wednesday, and let's say that on the way home today, you're going to stop by Kroger or whatever grocery store you go to. And what you want to do is you want to pick up some groceries so that you've got groceries in the house for the weekend. Okay, so based on that definition that you see on the screen there, a goal is a result towards which effort is directed. Is that a goal, going by Kroger and picking up groceries? Absolutely it is, okay? So think about this too. The action is to stop by Kroger or your supermarket. The goal is to have food in the house. So you're doing goals every single day. You're doing multiple goals every day. I don't want goals to scare you. The other thing I want you to think about goals here is a long-term goal is going to be 1 year, and a short-term goal, which we're going to be working on today, is going to be 90-day goals. So in our case today, what we're going to be looking at is, let's say, July 31st. So we're, what, about 7 days into May. So we've got the rest of May, all of June, and all of July to actually go through that. So we'll be setting 90-day goals. Let's talk about why we want to break them down into 90-day goals. Let's pretend right now that today is January 1st, and you and I are having a conversation, and I say to you, let's pretend that I'm overweight and I want to lose some weight, and let's say that I say to you, hey, Susan, I'm going to lose 50 pounds by December 31st, 2020. Now let's go back to that horse and that rider concept. Whoops, my Siri just went off. Let's go back to that horse and rider concept that we just talked about. My horse is going to buck like crazy when I say 50 pounds. It's going to go, no, you're not, and it's going to fight me all the way. Now, my rider, on the other hand, might be going, that's a great idea. Let's actually do that. All right. So it's going to fight me, and the chances are very, very good that I'm not going to be able to do that. Now, let's change it, and let's make it a 90-day goal right now. And I say let's say it's January 1st again, and I say by March 31st, I'm going to lose 12 pounds. Okay. Now, 12 pounds, my horse is going to go, okay, 12 pounds, that's less than a pound a week. I think you can actually do that. All right. So I'm going to get much less resistance with a smaller goal like that. But if I do 12 pounds per quarter, if I do that again in April, May, and June, and then July, August, September, October, November, December, if I do that 4 times 12, that's 48 pounds that I've lost over the course of the year. Okay, so basically I've hit my goal right at 50 pounds right there. So whenever you do goals, I want you to do them 90-day and smaller type goals. Another great concept here for you to look at. This is actually, there's a great book out there called Essentialism, very, very good book. I read this book probably 3 or 4 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. The problem that most people have is if you look at the image there on the left-hand side, most people put a lot of energy in a whole lot of different areas and different activities and things. And the result is that we basically have the unfulfilling experience of making like a millimeter's worth of progress in like a whole bunch of different directions. So we're not really accomplishing a lot. In the image there on the right, though, the image is given to a fewer number, I guess you could say, of activities that you're going after. And then the result, by like setting goals we're talking about today, is that you're investing in fewer things. We get the satisfying experience of making significant progress in the things that matter most to you. So part of the art of success is eliminating a lot of things that are not important and then going after less things, but really going after those strong. There's a guy by the name of Gary Keller, Keller Williams Real Estate, but Gary's a guy that actually founded that. One of my favorite little sayings is this: if you chase 2 rabbits, you'll catch neither one. If you chase 2 rabbits, you'll catch neither one. I love that. Okay. So let's talk about SMARTY goals. What exactly are these? We'll go through these. The S, this is an acronym that we're going to actually use. So the S stands for specific. The more specific you are when you set a goal, the better the chances that you're going to have to actually do that. Let's say today is the 7th of May here. If I was to say to you, I'm going to lose 15 pounds by May 31st, that's a very specific goal, but is that going to happen? Absolutely no way. But if I said to you, I'm going to lose 3 pounds by May 31st, yeah, I could probably actually do that. That would actually be very realistic if I was to say that. Going back to the specific thing is, if I was to say to you, okay, I want you to get in your car and just start driving west. Okay, where the heck are you going to end up? Who knows? Have no idea. But if I said to you, I want you to get in your car and I want you to go to 1433 Ventura Highway, Los Angeles, California, and gave you that exact address and you started driving, well, you would end up there. So you want to be super specific with that. Also, M stands for measurable. So whenever we set a goal, you want to have a measurable type goal. So you don't say, I want to lose weight. You say, I want to lose, 5 pounds by June 30th, whatever it might be like that. Or maybe a percentage, like I'm going to increase sales by, or customer count, client count by 5% by July 31st, 2020. You want to make sure that your goals are actionable. So what that one means is you actually can have control over that. You don't want to take goals that you really don't have control over. So it's within your possibility of actually doing something with it. They need to be realistic, like we talked about a couple of minutes ago. Don't say that let's say, for example, if you said, I want to put more money into a savings account by July 31st, for most of us on this call, if you were to say, I'm going to put $50,000 in a savings account by then, I sort of doubt it. Now, maybe you could. I hope I know who you are, but but if you said, I'm going to put $2,000 in a savings account or in a, retirement account by July 31st, that's a realistic goal and something you could do. Another point here, you want it to be time specific. So anytime you set a goal, you want to actually have a date in that goal. So you don't say by the end of the quarter, you literally say by July 31st. Or you don't say by the end of the year, you say by December 31st. You want to be super specific about exactly what the day is that you're going to do that. And the why stands for, why are you doing this goal? What is your why behind this thing? Whenever you set a goal, you have to have a good why behind that so that and you've got a strong why as to why you're actually going after that. Who is it benefiting? Is it benefiting you? Is it benefiting your clients, your patients? Know exactly what those are and write those down so that you know what your why is. You need to have a strong why. Simon Sinek, some of you might know who he is, but he says start with why. There's a great video on YouTube if you want to watch that. Great thing there. A goal without a timeline is just a dream. So whenever we set goals together, you want to have a timeline for when you're going to do that. So let's talk about the 9-step model of goal setting here. Number one, we've talked about some of these already, but we'll deep dive into it a little bit more. First thing you want to do is you want to decide exactly what you want. And that goes back to the specific thing that we talked about a little bit earlier. Know exactly what it is that you want to get there. Number two, we talked about this one already, make it measurable. You need to have a number in almost all of your goals. Know what that number is. Number three, set a date. We talked about that. It needs to be time specific, set a date. And number four, we're going to stop on this one, write it down. There's something that happens when you put a goal on a piece of paper. If you write it down, maybe a 3x5 card, or you write it into a journal, whatever it might be, but there's something magical that actually happens. I want to tell you about a study that was done several years ago. Back in 1971, actually, there was a company that surveyed the graduating class of Yale University. One of the questions that they asked, it was really all about goal setting, but they were asking all types of different questions. But one of the questions they asked was, what are your specific goals that you have upon graduation that you want to do over the next year? Well, 90% of the people who were graduating that year had very, very vague goals. So there were things like, well, I want to get a job, I want to get married, I want to go buy a home, but things that most people want to do, but they just weren't real specific about exactly what they were. 7% of the people that were interviewed were very, very specific about exactly what they wanted, like what type of a job, where was that job going to be, what type of home were they going to buy, what's the price range, what does it look like, and all that. But it was in their head, so it was not written down, 7%. 3% of them had very clearly defined goals on paper and they could actually show the person who was interviewing them what their goals were, like they had a list of goals here. In 1991, 20 years later, the 7% that had the written goals, the goals in their head, were earning 2.5 times the income of the other 90%, 2.5 times the income. The 3% that had very defined written goals were earning 11 times the income of the other 90%. So if the 90% were on average making $50,000, these people were making a $550,000. And it wasn't just in income, it was in all areas of their lives that they were accomplishing more. And so, you know, it was like family-wise and fun and recreation and all this type of stuff, they just had better lives because they were specific. So remember, paper makes a great goal magnet when you write something down. Step number 5 here. After the first 4 that we just talked about is actually writing the goal, and we'll talk about how do you do that again more specifically in a couple minutes here. But the next thing you want to do is you want to list the actions. So how are you going to accomplish that goal? What are you going to do to accomplish it? I want you to picture like just grabbing a legal pad and you sit down and you take 10 minutes and you go, okay, well, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, you know, just write, just kind of brainstorm what those actions would be. Step 6, then organize the actions. All right, so this week, well, I could do this one, I could do this one, I could do this one. You know, come up with the list, but put them in like a list of actual accomplishments, starting with number 1 and then working all the way through. 7, set reminders. And I want everybody, please write this down, 3x5 cards. I want you to go buy some 3x5 cards. If you go to the dollar store, I think they cost $1. I could be wrong, but I do believe they do. Go grab some, write down each individual goal, and then put them where you can see them. I keep them by my bed. I actually have them on my iPhone, and I look at them every morning and I actually read them out loud every day. It takes a grand total of maybe 45 seconds or so. What that does is it gets me back on track. In my car, I actually have a navigation system, and I actually have a 3x5 card with the 4 goals that I'm working on for this quarter, April, May, and June. And it's in there, okay? Do I read them every day? No. But even with them just being in there subconsciously, I know that they're there, and it keeps me focused on what we're doing. So you want to grab 3x5 cards or find a way to actually set reminders for yourself. Step 8, take action every single day. So even if you just take a small amount of action, that's going to cause momentum in your life if you do it every day, and you're going to find that these goals actually get accomplished super quick when you go that way. 9, and very important here, track your progress. Track your progress. You want to devise a way. It could even be as easy as grabbing like a paper calendar, and every day you take action on that goal, you just put a big red check mark on that calendar. It could be that easy. I actually use a Excel spreadsheet that I use for each goal, and it's super simple. I've been doing this since about 2005 in that neighborhood, but it takes a grand total of 10 seconds every day just to put a check mark in there. But there's something about putting that check mark in there that causes me and the clients that I actually work with to want to go get more and more and more of those check marks here. This is based on a thing called Pearson's Law. So Pearson's Law says when performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. So that's why you also want to have accountability with that. So, excuse me, let me give you a few goal suggestions. When you're writing a goal, it should only be 1 sentence long, and I'm going to give you some examples of goals here in about 5 minutes or so, but 1 sentence is all that you want to have. Also, that sentence, when you read it out loud, it should resonate with you. In other words, it should almost go like the hair stands up on your arm, because it's like, yes, I love that. Love how that goes. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to take a sip of water here. Okay. Number 2, I want you to write your goal as an affirmation statement. So real good words that I want you to write down here. First of all, shorter is better whenever you do this, but when you write it as an affirmation statement, write down the words I have or I am. Just write those down on a piece of paper right now. I have or I am. The other thing is you want to use these in the present tense. So your affirmation statement needs to be written in the present tense. You don't want to say, I'm going to lose 5 pounds by June 30th or July 31st. What you want to actually say is, I have lost 5 pounds by June 30th. Now, that was taught to me by a behavioral psychologist. Your brain does not believe future tense. Your brain believes present tense language. So you always want to put it in that way. And I'll give you, again, some examples here in just a couple of minutes. Also, you want to have a celebration strategy. Some of you may know a client of mine by the name of Jason Oyer. He's in Atlanta here. He is in your business, you know, an orthotic and prosthetic profession. Jason and his wife, Rachel, they set some very large goals. They hit those goals and actually built a swimming pool for their 4 kids back in February and March before the coronavirus actually hit. But I saw them last night actually at a place that we were at, and they were just talking about how much fun that they're having. But they set this really big celebration strategy for this huge goal that they were doing for their practice. And they hit that goal. And so you want to have a celebration strategy with all of these that you do. So let's practice a little bit here. Just kind of look at what we just talked about. This is not a good goal. Turnover is too high in my department. I'm going to reduce it by the end of the year. So I want you to think about what's wrong with this goal. A couple of things here. How many sentences should we have? Should be 1 sentence. You see 2 sentences here. Okay. Is this a measurable goal? What does too high mean? Like, who the heck knows what that means, okay? Also, it says, I'm going to reduce it by the end of the year. So we talked about it needs to be time specific. So let's change this a little bit. Let's change this goal. Here it is much, much better. I'm reducing, remember, I have or I am reducing turnover in my area from 15% to 9% by July 31st, 2020. Perfect goal right there, perfect goal. Focus is the art of exclusion. What that means is sometimes you have to exclude things to actually make them happen. Let me give you a quick little thing here, a quick little example story. Last year, I was working with a lady who lives just outside of Dallas, Texas, but she is in the real estate industry. And we were working on goals the very first week of October. So we were working on October, November, December goals. And one of the goals that she came up with is she wanted to go from a size 12 dress down to a size 8 dress by December 28th, 2019. And the deal was she wanted to, she and her husband had been invited to this really nice swank New Year's Eve party. And she wanted to buy this black cocktail dress. And we were talking about it, you know, and I usually don't set goals like that, but she was just very, very excited about it and all. And she had actually found this black cocktail dress. It was quite expensive. And so I'm talking to Monica, we're talking away. I said, you know, what's your why behind this? And she said, I just want to look smoking hot for my husband. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense here, right? So we set this goal that she would go from a size 12 dress down to a size 8 dress by December 28, 2019. So then we started talking about, well, how are you going to do that? She says, well, I'm a member of a gym. And she said, I've been a member for a couple of years now. She said, I think I'm going to actually walk through the doors of that gym and see what's on the inside. I'm like, great idea, you know? So she started working out about 3 or 4 days a week. Then she said, Robert, I'm going to join Weight Watchers. And every Saturday morning at a strip mall real close to my home, they have a Weight Watchers meeting. And she says, I'm going to go join this Saturday morning, and I'm going to go every single Saturday from now through the end of December. And so we set up several different things. On December 27th, 28th of that last year, my wife and I were in a car driving around one evening, and I got a call from Monica, and I answered the call. My wife's sitting right next to me, and she goes, "Ah," like that, really loud. And I'm like, "What? Are you okay? What's going on? What's up?" She said, "Well, you're never going to believe what just happened." I'm like, "What, Monica?" She said, "I am walking out of this store right now. I have a size 8 black cocktail dress. It actually fits me. I love you, Robert Mallon." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so crazy." I'd completely forgotten about the goal that she had set. My wife actually had tears coming down that day. She was so excited for Monica there. But that's kind of the power of setting a goal, getting super specific, no matter what it is. So think about this. When I started coaching people, the first probably 4 years, from about 2003 up to 2007 or so, all I did was professional coaching. And I started noticing this. If somebody has a great career, but let's say that their spouse gives them like divorce papers, it's like, who cares? Who cares about the career, Or if somebody has a great career and they die at their desk, because they're so out of shape, who cares? Or if your kids could care less whether they see you or not when you come walking in the door, it's like, why are you working so hard? So what I found was there's different parts of life that you need to be paying attention to. So not only the professional career part of your life, but things like, the friends, the relational part of your life, the educational part, the money financial part of your life, the physical health part, family, spiritual, fun recreation, time management, organization, service, volunteer, things like that, okay? So what I do with my clients is every 90 days we get together and we take a look at where they are exactly in their life at that point. So let's just pretend right now that this is your life, and you can see there the one that's going straight up and down. That's probably if 0 was right in the middle, all the way up to 10 would be all the way out on the outer edge of that. They're probably at about a 3. At 2 o'clock there, that's at about an 8, and maybe a 3, then maybe a 6 or 7. You can see all the way around there what they're at. So for most people, when we go through these categories and we look at them, they end up looking something like that. And if you were to pretend that that was like a bicycle wheel and you were trying to ride that, it would be a very, very, very bumpy road. I think you would agree. So what I do is I work with my clients, and every 90 days, we always go after the professional part, the career part, but we pick 2 other parts of life and we work on those parts too. We set some very specific goals. So the point is, over the course of time, it actually goes like that, to where if everything was like an 8, you've got a really, really awesome life going on there in these areas like that. So let me give you a few quick examples, and then we're going to actually take some action and actually have you write some goals yourself here. A couple of career goals here. These are actual goals that I've done with different clients over time here. By March 31st, I'm improving the communication within the organization by holding my managers accountable to 1 growth conversation every single solitary week, okay? Excuse me. This was actually done. A gentleman who has a very large manufacturing company. They've got about 350 or so employees, but he works specifically with 11 leaders within his organization. And what he found was the leaders were not having good growth conversations with their teams and the people that were underneath them. And so what he did was, from January 1st through March 31st, he made it mandatory that every leader had to have at least 1 growth conversation with a person every single week. They had to turn in on Friday, when they all met together, who it was that they talked to, what they talked to that person about, and what was the outcome that they actually got through that. It ended up, at first, like I said, people don't like change. So at first the leaders were like, why do we have to do this and all that type stuff. But over the course of the 3 months, they actually found that it worked so well, and people started responding to it so well, that they still do this to this day. And that was about 2 years ago when we actually set that goal together. Here's another one. By March 31st, I'm increasing the positive energy and motivation of the company by leading my team in eliminating 99 gnats and adding 99 cheetahs. Now, I know that makes absolutely no sense to you guys, but when I was talking to this gentleman, he said, Robert, to me, a gnat is something that just irritates the heck out of me. I don't like it, but we got stuff all over this business here that are just these little irritations. He said, a cheetah, on the other hand, is something that is driving my business forward, quickly. And it's good things that we're actually adding. So what they actually did was, over a 3-month period, they actually set up a whiteboard within their conference room, and each of the managers and supervisors would go in there once a week, and they would actually write down things that were gnats that they were eliminating, on the teams, and then things that they were adding that were cheetahs. So over the course of a 3-month period, they actually added 198 positives by eliminating 99 negatives and adding 99 positives. Kind of interesting there. Another one here, from now through August 31st, I'm accomplishing deep work, which is a very specific term that he and I talked about, by setting aside the first 45 minutes of each morning to work on quadrant 2 goals or tasks. So quadrant 2 in layman's terms means like important, not urgent things, but the things that are really driving things forward. Here's a good health goal. I am running the May half marathon in 2 hours and 17 minutes or less. This guy that I wrote this with, he was not a runner actually when we set this goal. And we actually made a bet. I bet him, and it was a good bet, but I said, I don't think you can actually do that. He says, I bet I can. I said, what do you want? He said, case of beer. And he told me the exact case of beer that he actually wanted, a craft beer. I said, all right, I'll take that bet. So actually 4 months later, he trained like crazy, went through this thing. He actually ran the half marathon in 2 hours and 14 minutes. He actually beat it by 3 minutes, and he showed me the time. I bought him a case of beer. And I was happy to pay that one off. That's a cool thing there. Another health one here. I'm doing it and tracking at least 3 high intensity interval training workouts each week from now through August 31st. Super specific. It's written in the positive. It's a measurable type thing. 3 is the measurement there. You can see exactly, and he's got the date on there. Another physical goal there. I am enthusiastically increasing my strength and endurance by exercising 3 days a week and losing 8 pounds by February 28th. Family goal here. Love, love, love this one. One of my favorites of all time. This one is probably 5 years old with a guy. From now through April, I'm doing at least one daddy-daughter date every month. Love that. This guy's daughter at that point was about 13, 14 years old. If you know anything about children, when they start getting into the teenage years, they start spreading their wings, and he kind of felt like his little baby doll was pulling away. And so he decided that every month he would take his daughter out on a daddy-daughter date. I know right now she's in college. I think she is finishing her freshman year, but they still, to this day, still do a daddy-daughter date every single solitary month, and that one just blows my mind. I love it so much. Another one, this was a CFO of a multinational manufacturing company. By September 15th, I found 2 babysitters so that Kathy and I can date each weekend. So you get a good example of what these look like. I'm going to change screens, and Sarah, I believe that you have put, Sarah, if you could come on to where I could actually hear you, but I believe that you've actually put a link to a sheet that looks like this.
Yep, you got it. So if you guys look in the right-hand side, you'll see handouts, and you can download that fillable PDF, and we can work on it live with you.
That's perfect. So thank you, Sarah. And you can stay on with me here if you'd like to, but what I want you to do, and as you download that, or if you don't have a place to download it, or like if you just don't have it out right now, you can grab a piece of paper and we'll actually do this. What I want you to do is actually write your name up there at the top, and then today's date is 5/7/20, And you can see down below this where it says life category scorecard. The rating that we're going to actually do is 1 means it just can't get any worse whatsoever, all the way over here to 10 means it can't get any better, like it's perfect. There's no way it could get better. So down below this, what I want you to do, we're not going to hit all of these right now. I want you only right now to go to professional life, and I want you to put a number in there, like, you know, someplace between 1 and 10. So maybe it's a 7, maybe it's a 5, maybe it's a 9, maybe it's a 3. I don't know. Put a number in there. Give you a couple of seconds here. Okay, now what I want you to do, if you look down here on the second page where it says professional life, I'm going to give you a minute and a half right now. I want you to write out, why did you write that number down? Like if you wrote a 6, why is it a 6? So 1, 2, 3, go. Be super specific too, and we're actually talking about why on the 7th of May is that number what it is. You've got about 30 more seconds. Okay, so stop up there, and I want you to go down below this to where it says 90 days. And I want you in there, I want you to think about by July 31st, what is one thing that you could do specifically that would actually take that number that you wrote down up one number. So if you're at a 6, how could you take it to a 7? If you're a 7, how could you take it to an 8? So you've got 1 minute to write down some specific things. Go. Okay, so stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. And I want you to look at the screen again. So let's just pretend that you put a, let's say that you put a 6 in right there. What you're going to do after this call is you're going to go to Money Financial, and you're going to put a number. Family, you'll put a number. Educational, put a number. Family, you know, we don't really have a lot of time to go into each one of these. You know, Money Financial would be the money financial part of your life. Family would be the, you know, like it could either be the people in your house or extended family too, whatever that might be. Educational is growing yourself. Like, are you reading? Are you taking courses? Do you have coaches working with you? What are you doing? Give yourself a number. Spiritual part of your life, whatever that is to you. Fun and recreation. I would say right now during the COVID outbreak, take that one high. You need to keep that really high. I've been working with a ton of clients recently to increase that one and get it up there. Community would be you serving and volunteering. Time management and organization, self-explanatory. Physical health, what's your number there? And then friends and social. And what you'll do is you'll pick one of those. But what I want you to do now is I want you to, under professional, I want you to write a goal based on the one thing that you said you would do over the next 90 days. So remember, the right words are going to be I have or I am. And I'm going to give you 1 minute to write one down. Go. By July 31st, I have blank, for example. Okay. So a couple of quick things here. We've got about 3 minutes before we need to get off of here. If you look on the screen, I want you to go ahead and write my email down, robert@elitecoaching.solutions. And what I'm going to ask you to do is go ahead and send me an email with your goal. Just write in there, my goal. You can put that in subject line or something like that. Let me take a look at your goal, and I'll give everybody that sends me your goal some feedback on, about that goal. And I'll give you some suggestions if they don't look exactly right. But then the other thing that I want you to do is I want you to write another goal based on one of the other non-life categories. And if you want to, you can put that goal in there too, and I'll take a look at that. Happy to do that. One thing too, if you're interested, totally up to you guys. I think we've got about 50, we've got close to about 50 people on the call, 44 it looks like right now. So make sure and send me your goal. I'll give you some feedback on that. But I am putting together, I've got several people who are in orthotic prosthetic work who are coaching clients, and I'm putting together some cohorts, groups of about 5 to 7 people. And so if you're interested in getting information about those, let me know, and I'll make sure and send you some information so that you can explore some growth for your own life and career there. So I'm going to turn this over actually to Sarah and Eric. And if you have questions or comments or anything, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Robert. If you guys have questions that you would like to ask Robert now, you can go ahead and type those into the questions box, and they will pop up live here, and we can read those to him. I haven't had any come through yet. Oh, we just got
Sarah,
one.
I'm gonna say
Famous
this.
last words. Yep, go ahead.
Let me just say this too. I can stay on for a few minutes after this. So if people want to put questions on there, I'll happily stay on 5 or 10 extra minutes to answer them. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Robert. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We have, how many goals do you recommend working on per 90-day period?
Perfect question. Okay. Have 1 or 2 professional goals, but I would have 2 other goals, one from each category. So when you look at it, and I tell people this right off the bat too, you might be like right now, a lot of people are at a 2 or 3 when it comes to like community, because they can't get out. We're all having a social distance, and I'm saying to them, don't worry about that right now. If that changes in June, great. If you can get out and do some things, but it's very hard to go out and help the the Red Cross or the Kiwanis Club when nobody's meeting together. So, but pick 2 that just apply to you that you want to go after.
Okay, perfect. Not seeing any come through here at the moment. So what I'm going to do, Robert, is I'm going to go ahead and switch so that they can see my screens, and we can go over some housekeeping stuff.
Perfect.
But if you wouldn't mind hanging out If some more come through,
I'm
then we
here.
can. All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So for your CEUs, for this course, you will need to complete a CEU questionnaire, a quiz, and you will get that link in your email at the end of this webinar. It'll come in about an hour after this webinar is over. And what we have up here, we just want to let you guys know we are all here for you. You can see we have everyone up that is arranged by states and by regions. Also, you can see your U.S. sales team support and leadership with those numbers. So anything that you guys need, please feel free to reach out to any of us on there. Again, for your CEUs, the link will come in an email after about an hour after this is over. You do need to pass with an 80% or more to get those CEUs. You can retake the course, don't worry about it. For ABC, we will submit automatically on your behalf. And for BOC and state licensure, you will receive an emailed certificate that you can then submit to the boards yourself. And then if you want to join us next week for Freedom Hour, same time, same station, going to be Thursday, May the 14th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have Brenda Archer. She's an independent consultant. She has over 30 years of experience in O&P at Hanger Clinic, and she specialized in workflow, patient experience, and the dynamics of internal teams. So if that's going to be 1.5 CEUs next week, and if you want to register, you can go to our website, freedom-innovations.com, and there'll be a tab at the top that says events, and you can scroll down and get that information to register there. And Robert, are you still there?
I sure
You
am.
hanging
Yeah.
in? Okay,
Mhm.
we got another one. On
Okay.
the 10 sections that you have in that wheel, what do you find as the most challenging? What do people generally find as the most challenging ones in there?
That's a really good question. And I would say this, everybody is different. I think I do hear, especially with newer clients that I work with, many of them want to go after physical health one. And many of them say, I need, I either need to, I hear this one all the time. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to work out an hour every time. And I'm going, no, we're not going to set that goal. Absolutely no way. And so we end up setting something like this. As a matter of fact, this morning I was working with another gentleman, and his goal was that he will work out at least 3 days per week, at least 15 minutes per time, and that's it. Okay, think about this. The problem with most people is if they're not working out, they're telling themselves, I am a person who does not work out. Okay, and they've said that 1,000,000 times to themselves. So if they were to go to the gym even 5 minutes a day, 4 or 5 days a week for 3 or 4 weeks, they would literally, although they were not getting hardly any exercise, they would be saying to themselves, I am a person who goes to the gym and works out 5 days a week or 4 days a week. I am a person who goes to the gym and works out 4 days a week. It completely changes their mind. So I think that one for most people, I just have people take baby steps on that first. And then it's very interesting how if they take the baby steps, that jumps way up real quick. But some people need financial help. Some people need, good grief, fun and recreation help. It could be ton of people need time management and organization. And with the cohorts that I'm putting together, that's the first stuff. We're going to spend probably the first 3 to 4 months working on developing a great strategy, well, actually a great program of time management and organization, because if you don't have that, nothing else seems to work. So let me know if you're interested in that. But those two, I would say the big ones.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
You're
And
welcome.
just in case they didn't get to write it down, what was your email address again?
It's Robert@elitecoaching.solutions. So it's not a .com, it's .solutions. Actually, you know what? I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Awesome. And then, yeah, the chat is just there on the left hand side in your list with your handout that you can download and print and fill out and send to Robert so he can check them out.
Awesome. By the way, on those goals, if you want to just send the goal, you don't need to send me the sheet. Just send me the goal. I'll take a look at it. Happy to do that.
Okay, that's awesome.
So Sarah, did you write a goal?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that. I'll email it to you later. How about that?
Okay. And by the way, Eric, I need a goal from you, and Matthew, I need a goal from you too. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Talk about holding people accountable.
There you
Jeez.
go. That's what we need.
All right, perfect. Well, that seems to be all that's coming in. Robert, thank you so much. We really greatly appreciate you doing this for us. That was great content, and we really appreciate it. Is there anything else we can do for you?
I think I'm in great shape. Thanks so much, and you folks have a great afternoon.
Thanks, y'all too. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Robert.
Bye-bye.
Bye.